Hello, everyone, and welcome to Up Close and Personal, our segment that we have. And it is wonderful today that we have a special guest, and her name is Andrea Collins. And she is a current client of mine. She's been working with me since March, and I am super excited to have her join me today. So thank you so much, Andrea, for taking time out of your schedule to share your testimony, to share your journey, and to share your process in all of this. So I really appreciate it.
No, of course. Thank you.
And I know many listeners can relate to her topic. Her focus and her topic is how Andrea finally jump-started her weight loss of 13 pounds while working a stressful job and traveling, despite struggling with having a weight loss plateau for over a year. And so what I say to you all is simply replace Andrea's name with your name, because this is very common. She's not alone, and we all feel like we're isolated. We feel like we're kind of going through these things on our own, but it is real. You get to a point and you just can't understand, why isn't the weight no longer coming off? Why did I get stuck? And so while we are going through this talk, I will feel free to post any comments and any questions that you have throughout this conversation. And if it's anything that I'm not able to answer, then I will ask Andrea herself, and I will definitely get those answers for you. And I just want to give a little background on how Andrea and I met. And so we first connected at a workshop that I did presented out at Orange Theory. And this was during the Orange Theory 8-week transformation challenge. And so I know those of you who are part of Orange Theory are very familiar with their 8-week challenge. And she is going to go into more detail with her journey with that challenge and her start weight, end weight, and just that whole process of going through that. But she approached me because she had shared that she had been experiencing a plateau, and how to balance exercise with eating and how to make those choices in order to make everything work. So we knew from the exercise standpoint that things were, on point. And so now we just kind of had to figure out the struggle was what's going on the eating side. And so, and as many of us, we kind of get tired of trying to figure out, well, how do we put our meals together? How do we put our snacks together? How do we figure that out? And so that's kind of at the point that she was when we connected. And so we are going to talk more with Andrea herself, and she's going to share her weight loss journey, how she was able to juggle a stressful job and traveling. She celebrated a birthday. She had many family gatherings, and so it's all about living your life. We don't believe in diets, so we want to be able to live our lives and turn this into a lifestyle so you can enjoy life and still lose weight and not feel like you have to feel restricted. And so we will give the floor to Andrea and share with our viewers how, what line of work are you in and what you do for a living.
Okay, thank you. So I'm a civil engineer. I work in transportation. I work in like a field in traffic and ITS, which is intelligent transportation systems. But a lot of my days, even though I could say it's an 8 to 5, a lot of my days end up being like 8 to 10 sometimes. In the past, it used to be till like midnight or even longer. So there was a bit of a struggle with like sleep and work and personal life and all of that. But I think with all of that, I kind of felt like I didn't really know how to balance the life portion of the work-life balance.
Very common. Very common. You're not alone. And so we're gonna dive into that more. Tell us a bit about your weight loss journey. Like when did that start for you?
It probably started about 5 to 6 years ago when I first moved to Orlando. I got a job in Orlando. I got here, and then I was living on my own and really just relying on, now I have to do the grocery shopping. I have to do the cooking and the cleaning and everything. And I just didn't know, or I was relying on eating habits from back home. But I didn't, and then like being Hispanic, rice was always like a staple in meals. And I just felt like I was eating all the same things. But at the same time, because I had started living on my own, I stopped doing exercise because I couldn't find the time. And then I just wasn't happy with where things were going. And a coworker of mine had told me about like what he was trying. So I would try, what he was doing. And for a little bit it worked, but it really wasn't for me. It didn't work like well as a sustainable option.
Mhm.
Um, so about 3 years ago, I decided to try Orange Theory, which I was very worrisome about just because I knew how kind of strict it was with like the late fees and not really knowing how to balance my work schedule yet. But I think, finding that really helped kickstart my weight loss journey. And as mentioned, like in the intro, there was a point where I just kind of I had lost weight and then I just plateaued. And then at that point, I didn't really know what to do.
Mhm.
But I still kept doing the same things. So
Mhm.
it was definitely time to find a more permanent solution.
Yeah. And what were some of the things that you tried in the past? Like, what were some diets that you may have tried and invested in to try to get the weight off?
So I never really did like a named diet.
Mhm.
A lot of people do like Weight Watchers or Atkins. I never really wanted to invest in that. But instead, I would what was working for my coworker was, having multiple smaller meals throughout the day. And so that's what I started doing and it worked for a little bit, but
Mhm.
at the same time I just kind of got tired of like, oh, 3 hours time to eat, half of the lunch that I prepared, I guess. um and that like that's really the only thing that I really tried besides, like, trying to find alternatives to, like, rice with my meal. I would, try, like, other grains or brown rice, but I would try brown rice only because of the name, right? And, like, the connotations that come with it. Like, oh, brown rice or whole wheat just means that it's healthier, but I didn't really know, and I also didn't know what I was doing with the portions.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. And what were some of the physical effects you were having back then? Did you experience low energy levels or headaches, fatigue, anything like that?
Um Yeah, I always had really bad headaches, and I think part of that was that I certainly wasn't drinking enough water.
Mhm.
And now I'm drinking so much more water that I'm rarely having to take Advil or Tylenol. It's really only if I have like muscle pains that I'm taking those pain medications.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm not really relying on coffee anymore. Like I would I would wake up, I would have a cup of coffee. Then,
Mhm.
I would have another cup when I got to the office. And then, the 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock wall would come and I'd be walking to the break room again and having another cup of coffee. But now it's like I maybe I'll have a cup of coffee in the morning to try if I need that extra kick to kickstart my day. But
Mhm.
for the most part, I just like find myself walking to the or at the beginning, I would just find myself walking to the break room because it was so um like it was a part of my routine.
It was a
And then
habit. Yeah.
I would get to the break room and I'd be like, well, I don't even know why I'm here because I don't need any coffee today.
Yes, to all my coffee drinkers. I mean, that's huge. And I never once said, "Can I have your coffee?" You cannot have your coffee, but the fact that we work together to change her eating habits, it just it naturally and organically evolved that, oh wow, yeah, I like to drink it, but it's not mandatory. And it's
Mhm.
hard to that's why I never try to take coffee away because I know that's very difficult to a difficult sell. So I'm like, nope, you'll see for yourself. you know. And so that was so when I got that report of, oh, I'm not depending on coffee anymore. I think that was like week 2. So
Mhm.
it didn't take long at all.
No, it was that finding those natural food or incorporating more of those foods that have natural energy because I did, I always ate fruit and vegetables, but I didn't eat enough. And then change like adding that and taking a or like trying to find that balance in the portions that I was eating really helped get that natural energy that I needed.
Good. Yeah, absolutely. Food is medicine. I always tell it food is medicine and food is energy. Now, you also had some concerns with like you wanted to prevent, you was very proactive in wanting to prevent like high blood pressure, prevent cholesterol. And so
Mm.
so why'd you have some of those concerns? What was what was worrisome there?
Um, so that all stemmed from really like family history. I know like my mom has a long history with high blood pressure. And I've seen her, go through that and have to constantly take medication to try and manage it. And that just really wasn't something that I wanted to have to deal with
Hmm.
as I get older. And in the past, I've also, done my regular labs with my doctor and everything. And occasionally, I would have like high cholesterol, so that's something that I've just been trying to
Hmm.
manage and figure out.
Yes, yes, and we are definitely working on that. So our levels
I'm
are
not sure I
low,
understand.
in which I applaud her for taking action, and we just want to keep them low. We want to keep them in
Hmm.
the normal range, and I won't say her age, but I will just say she's under 30. And so I'm going to say when you're under in my history, when you're young, we feel like, oh, we got youth on our side. We're good. I'm good. I don't have to worry about anything. And so I applaud her for taking action because normally in reality, we don't take action until we get that scare from the doctor. We'll have the warnings, but we ignore the warnings, or maybe we're not even told about the warnings. And we know the family history, and sometimes we just like, oh, that's not going to be me. So the fact that she took action earlier to where she doesn't have to kind of fix something, when she gets 40 is it speaks volumes. So I wish everybody would do that, but we don't. you know, so that's good. That's good. And you also you had history with acid reflux. So share
Hmm.
about that and how that's going currently.
Yeah, actually, honestly, that was a bit of a scare. That was maybe 4 years ago. So about a year into living on my own in Orlando, I kind of had like I woke up one morning, I couldn't breathe. I
Mm.
was having a lot of pain, and I had absolutely no idea what to do. So, like any child, I called my mom
Yeah.
and I asked her, what do I do? Do I go to my doctor? She, told me to get to the emergency room, which I did, and it turned out that you know in the past, because of all my headaches, I was taking a lot of Advil, and
Mm.
that, like, is what well, I guess, talking to my doctor, that was part of what was causing the issues,
Wow.
and, the temporary fix was to switch from Advil to Tylenol, but still just relying on Tylenol wasn't a good thing, but,
Mm.
I think over the time or, like, over this time that since then, I've really been a little more cautious, and I haven't had any issues with it again since.
Good, good. Now, did you how soon or how many weeks would you say we were in to working together? Did it change, or did you start noticing any differences in your acid reflux?
Um, well, I think really early on since we started working together, because part of the reason why I was taking all of that was because of dehydration, and I would get migraines.
Okay.
But really working on my hydration and making sure that I got in the amount of water that I needed helped
Hmm.
with the reliability of the medications. And then,
Yeah,
um, yeah.
that's good. That's good. And let's go just shift to food now. Back to food.
Hmm.
So, what in the past, what's been your history or relationship with food? Like some people kind of may fear things or stress eat. What would you say? Would you consider yourself a stress eater?
Oh, I definitely would consider myself a stress eater. Just because, like with work, I just didn't know when I would get stressed, if especially during the pandemic when I was working from home, if I
Mm.
would get stressed, then I would walk away from my desk and I'm 20 feet away from my fridge, so I'd go find something to snack on. Um, and I think that also has been a part of my life for a very long time, especially in college, because
Mhm.
in college I would be up late working or studying,
Mhm.
and that's just been a
Yeah.
part of my life for a very long time.
Oh yes, yes, you're not alone. We all stress to eat. We all emotionally eat, procrastinate, eat. It's different levels, it's different forms of it, but we all tend to tie food to handle, whatever stresses that are going on in our life. And so, how would you rate your or explain your relationship with carbs? So, were you ever one to restrict, cut back, to try to lose weight?
Um, I think that was one of the hardest parts on this journey was trying to figure out how to not necessarily remove carbs from my diet, um, but just how to handle them better or like eat healthier options, just maybe portion them correctly because I just always grew up, you know, every meal, well, every dinner had, rice,
Yeah,
but I was never serving it. It was always my mom. And then my mom would serve me, so much. And I felt like, oh, I need to finish the plate.
yeah.
But, and
Oh,
then,
yes.
growing up, having that mentality was just, okay, well, this is what I've been doing. This is what I'm going to keep doing. And then realizing that that was not good for me or not healthy. I needed to figure out new ways to still incorporate carbs and not be afraid of them, but
Mhm.
just balance them a little bit better.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And that is real because you have a lot of cultures where food is the center of it all. And it's disrespectful to say no or to say, oh, not right now, or not clean your plate, like you just said.
Hmm.
And you leave home, we leave the nest, and then we try to do things differently. We try to get healthier, and then we go back home because I've
Yeah, and then
experienced
the
this
same
too.
foods there.
You go back home and they're looking at you like, "That's all you're gonna eat? That's all you're gonna?" Wait a minute, that's not what you do. So it's really different. They don't want to hear you trying to lose weight. They don't want to hear you trying to, they just want you to be you. So
Hmm.
did you find that challenging going back home? I
I
think home for you
did.
is Miami, right?
Yeah, home for me is Miami. And I did find it a little bit challenging, but when especially because, when my grandmother would want to, make us a meal, obviously she wants us to eat what she's making us, but it was really reassuring the last time I was there, I think was for Mother's Day, and
Mhm.
it was my grandmother that called out the fact that I have lost a lot of weight. And so that made me feel good because it wasn't just, you know, it wasn't just about like, here's my food, eat it, finish it. She was like, "Oh, you look really good." And I was like, "Well, there we go. Thank you."
Stamp of approval. Yeah, because grandmothers tell the truth. I know mine did. Well, that's good. That's good. And how did you handle portions? Because I know that is a big deal. When you're home, you got the tools. You're in control. You can handle things differently. But when you're away, then you're kind of like mindful. You're on your own. You kind of got to guess. So how did you feel about that early in the game, and then fast forwarding? How do you feel about that? How do you feel like you've gotten any more comfortable with that?
Well, honestly, I think one of the best things I did starting, this journey was investing in a weight, food,
Yeah, it's food scale.
you know, a food scale, yeah, because that really helped me realize what the measurements were versus what's actually getting on my plate. And that
Mhm,
I wasn't just guessing.
mhm.
And then, having that visual, because I am a visual learner. So being able to weigh it all out and see what it looks like, that definitely helped.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think that first week was the aha moment. Is you
Hmm.
compare what you've been eating to what, oh,
Right.
this is a serving.
Yeah.
Some things are big, or some things are, oh, I wasn't eating enough.
Yeah.
But that's good. And the more you train your eye, I always share, you train your eyes at home, and then when you eat out, yeah, we're guessing, but at least you have a point of reference. So now you have a point of reference.
Hmm.
So when somebody is making your plate or something like that, you kind of know what it is, and how to adjust, and things like that. And maybe you got to adjust later in the day, stuff like that, when
Hmm.
you don't want to say no and offend anybody, and and stuff like that. That's good. Now, did you have did you have any history of feeling sluggish throughout the day, tired throughout the day, prior? And if so, did any of that change?
Yes, I would definitely say I was always sluggish, and it always came, right after lunch. I would just wish that, oh, maybe I could go take a nap, but I would force myself to go take a lap. We have at our office in front of our building is a lake. So I would always force myself to go take a couple laps around there and maybe help kickstart my afternoon. But since like working with you and doing all of this, I feel like I haven't necessarily needed to feel like I need to go take a nap or
Mhm.
like I need to go take that walk. But sometimes I do still take the walk just so I can get some fresh air.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's necessary anymore. I
Yeah.
feel like I have so much more energy throughout my day. Um, Sometimes too much energy throughout my day.
That's
But
good.
I mean, I feel good. I feel so much better now.
Oh, that's good. That's good. And how have your workouts changed? Because I know Orange therapists,
Um,
they're pretty, they're advanced. They're advanced workouts. How has that changed?
yeah, I mean, I I started and I was maybe going like 2 to 3 days a week, and
Mhm.
now I honestly, if I could go every day, I would because I love it,
Mhm.
and I love the fact that it is a program because before when I would just work out on my own, I would just do the things that I know. Like, oh, okay, I know how to work this machine, so I'm just going to do this machine. But now, working with coaches, they, they really help test my limits and they've helped me realize that I am so much stronger than I thought I was, which
Mhm.
helps,
Mhm.
with this weight loss journey as well.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I like structured. I call it structured programming. When it doesn't necessarily, you don't necessarily have to go Orange Theory, but you're having some trainers. Or a facility that has trainers that has classes, whether it's group classes and boot camps, because they are going to work you out. They're going to work your total body. They're going to give you that right cross training that you need, and they're going to push you more than we would ever push ourselves. And a lot of women don't want to lift because we're scared. We're going to bulk up, but no, we won't bulk up like a man unless we got to take a lot of pills for that, a lot of supplements for that. So that's good and then you watch yourself get stronger. So that's the beauty of it. So it's like food became the pre, the post, the all the different meals to sustain you throughout the day. And let's talk about traveling. You celebrate a
Mhm.
birthday during this journey, and most people fear having to celebrate,
Yeah,
especially if
I mean, yeah, I did basically like a week for my birthday, then I was gone for another 10 days, skiing,
Mhm.
and I was a little bit nervous, because the birthday was right at the beginning, right
Yeah.
where I didn't really know anything. I kinda knew we had talked about portion sizes, and so I kinda went in with a little bit like, maybe I'll can figure it out and balance it over the vacation," but um, definitely that next trip, I wasn't afraid to go into that trip knowing that, yeah, I do understand it a little bit more now, and I know how to figure out, or understand a menu a little bit better.
Mhm.
Pick out what I should be ordering,
Mhm.
and it's harder when you're constantly going to restaurants. The only thing that I could really control was the breakfast back at the hotel
Mhm.
that I was making in the room. But, I didn't and I didn't fully, like, control myself. Obviously, I was on vacation, and especially when I was on my birthday, like, we did have cake, and they
Yeah.
would bring us desserts and stuff,
Yeah.
and so I wasn't
Nice.
afraid to continue to do that because I also knew that I was still doing a lot of physical activity during the day, and I
Mhm.
felt like I tried to give myself that mentality you
Mhm.
know, of balance.
Yeah.
I am doing so many activities throughout the day. I need a little bit of energy, but I can also enjoy myself,
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
and enjoy my birthday.
Yeah, and she made a lot of good points. You were very early in this stage, and I didn't tell her much. I was just like, I want you to enjoy yourself. I want you to be mindful. I want you to take what you know at this point and go with it. So I didn't tell her, don't do this, don't do that, don't eat this, because just the fact that you thought about it was huge, because in the past you wouldn't have
Mhm.
thought about it. You would have just went, had a good time, ate, whatever. And but the fact you thought about it, and she actually came back, she was stable. She didn't gain anything. She was pretty much stable, which is the goal. I tell people that's the goal, because whatever your weight loss calories are, if you maintain, you eat more than that. So she enjoyed, but she did not overdo it and just lose it, and she did exactly what she was supposed to do. And I didn't want her stressing. I didn't want her doing any of that stuff. And that was the goal. But of course, as you go through the process, you get more and more comfortable. But just the fact that you even thought about, what am I going to eat? What am I going to, you're just mindful, but you didn't stop,
Mhm.
which was what the goal was. So that was good. And so going back to, how we connected, a lot of people feel like they can do this on their own. We try. I tried. I remember when I had my journey with blood pressure, I'm Googling, and well, back then it was the World Wide Web. So I did my internet search and and trying to figure out, well, what do I do? What do I do to lose this weight? What do I do to lower my blood pressure? So we all do it. And I failed on my own. I had to get help to get on my own. So what prompted you to finally do it? You saw the workshop, but not everybody, moves forward and wants to try to work one-on-one. But what prompted you to do it?
Honestly, I feel like I was a little bit frustrated.
Okay.
I was, in that year of just a lull and, where at the beginning I felt like, or, to the beginning of that year, I felt like I was going so well. And then that lull happened and I was just like, well, I'm tired of not really knowing what to do anymore. And going to that workshop, I just felt like, maybe this is what I need to do. Maybe what I've needed is a nutritionist because I feel like I've got the exercise part down and I've got people, helping me there,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know how to understand what my body needs and how to balance that and eat the right things for my body and for what I'm doing in my life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. And that's good. We try. Do your due diligence. I always say, do your due diligence. Try it on your own. And I generally say, if it's been about 6 months, 6 to 8 months, and you're like you said, frustrated, definitely reach out. Definitely reach out, because she's was very preventative, but you have many that are trying to figure out, well, how do I reverse my prediabetes? How do I reverse my blood pressure, or get it in control? So we don't want to go too long with those issues going on. And how did you, most of us as women, we try to lose weight, we have that all or nothing kind of mindset. Like, if we don't get this perfect, if we are not all in, if we slip, we kind of get a little razzled. We kind of want to say, oh, well, I might just eat everything because I messed up. So was that difficult? Did you find that difficult to manage that, or did you have a challenge with that all or nothing kind of mindset?
Um, I knew going in that if I was gonna obviously if I was gonna pay for the program, I wanted to do it. I wanted to participate, and I knew that there was possibly I could take some of this information that I learned and maybe, push it to like my family.
Absolutely.
Because especially like with my mom who has high blood pressure, it's not at this point, it's not preventative, but at least I can maybe help her control it or
Hmm.
a little
Hmm.
bit better. And I don't know, maybe she'll never be able to get off that blood pressure medication, but at least I can, help her out as much as I can. And that I think that's part of that motivation too.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And that's the thing. It does spill over. It does spill over to your family. Maybe a point where her meds can lower.
Mhm.
Sometimes it just kind of depends on the person with blood pressure, because that's kind of where I'm at. I'm on a low dose, but I can't just completely get off of it. But I still got to watch what I eat. I still got to exercise, and maybe for her, that's what it is. She can at least lower the meds, which is always a good thing, because you don't want to take three and
Mhm.
four meds to manage one thing, and you don't want to create other stuff. So, but that's a very good point, that it does spill over, and then people are going to wonder. They're going to see you're still eating regular food. They're still going to see you're eating your rice. and stuff like that. And that's the testimony, because I remember when we first talked, you was like, you want to help people, you want to be able
Mm,
to share the good news. And one thing I haven't shared is that you've lost 13 pounds, and it's about a 3-month period of time.
mhm,
And the beauty of that is it's she lived her life. A lot of times people want to see, oh, I want to lose 13 pounds in a month, but you got to be realistic. She was not in a bubble. She had to deal with stresses at her job and things of that nature. She traveled to New York, to Miami. She was all over the place. So you want to be able to have that balance, that lifestyle balance. And let's talk about sleep. I think that was probably one of our biggest challenges in
yeah,
the beginning, because she was like, "No way, I can't get 7 hours of sleep. I can't stop working early."
yeah. It was, yeah, I think the sleep was definitely the hardest part because I always felt like, you know, I was already working till like midnight and then I'm waking up at, 6 o'clock in the morning. And there, I just felt like the stress of work was always lurking.
Mhm.
I needed to meet a deadline or I needed to, they're expecting me to finish this or that. But I think just figuring out a new schedule and um like obviously I talking to my superiors and trying to figure out that like hey, I do need to prioritize my work life schedule if you want me to be here long term. um
Good, good.
and really I I was always afraid to have that conversation, but
Mhm.
luckily I do work with a staff that's very understanding. And now
Good.
if I even if I have to work till 10 o'clock, at least I know that I can get a minimum of, 6, 7 hours, sometimes even 8 hours, which is great.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
that's
is
good.
definitely not what I was doing before.
Right, that is good. That is, and we had to ease into that, because that's nothing
Mm.
that happens overnight. Because, like I said, she was looking at me like I was crazy when I said, "You're working 12 hours. When are you gonna stop?" But I understand you have the demands. You have the demands of the job, but it's almost like she set a precedency. You shared something I didn't know. I didn't know you had that conversation with
Mhm.
your boss about that work-life balance, and it's so important. But unfortunately, our culture just doesn't support that. I mean, that's one of the biggest stressors, and that triggers weight and stress eating is our job. And yeah, we need it. Got to pay bills, of course, but we also, got to have self care too. So I applaud you for that. I didn't know that. So that's good. That is awesome. And so let's see, what's changed? What would you say has changed? Like, what's different now for you? Like, as far as how you feel and confidence, what's changed for you?
Um, well, I mean, beside obviously, like, the natural things that have come with it, like, more energy, which is something that I really wanted to work on, and, um, and just understanding, what I'm eating and how to read labels that has helped, me just feel a little bit better. And the fact that I do have, family members and coworkers that are noticing change, it, that obviously that adds to it as well.
Mhm. Mhm. Absolutely, absolutely. It does make a difference when we don't always notice it, our own weight loss. And so when you was losing weight, you probably felt like, I don't see anything, and nothing's, but other people will see it before we
Hmm.
see it. And so I remember when you shared, like, the grandmother, that was a huge, boost. And so when other people notice, especially when they don't know that you're trying to lose weight,
Yeah.
and so it's sincere at that point when,
Hmm.
when they don't know.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
that's
there was someone that I work with that I hadn't seen in a while. And, one day she comes in and she steps into to my desk and she was like, you look like you've lost a lot of weight. And, that was a confidence boost that
yeah.
I, was missing. That was like the first compliment that I had received on this during this time.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Are there some clothes you're getting back into, or are you just shopping now?
Oh, I definitely need to buy some new pants. I I also have a belt that I think the belt at this point is just decoration because I can't even there's not a hole, that I can actually use.
That's a good problem. Yay! So, and for those listening in, or whether you're listening to the replay or you're listening live, definitely post your questions, post your comments. And I just want to ask Andrea one more question. Like, what were your top 3 things that you say we did together that you found most helpful?
Um,
Mm.
the visualization of being able to take what was in the book of, portion sizes and me actually like seeing it in real life, that really helped me. Going through how to understand and read a label and how labels have evolved, over time, that has really helped me as well. Um, and I felt like at the beginning I got really caught up in the, oh, you have to have this many portions of vegetables and fruits and dairy and this and that. But in the end, it was really just about trying to figure out and understand
Mhm.
how that all comes together and works together
Yeah.
throughout my day and provides me the right amount of,
Mhm.
you know, calories that I need throughout the day. And that has really helped me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you were great. It was just like because you wanted it. You can tell when you want
Mhm.
it, then it makes the dots connect a little easier. And then now you realize it's a lot of flexibility. In the beginning, the
Mhm.
structure just because it's new, and I want you to kind of understand things. But then you realize when you're in settings where you're not in control, you may not always get it all in. But you do the
Mhm.
best you can with what's there. And well, thank you for sharing that. What any words of wisdom you have for our listeners who maybe are in the same situation, like they're plateaued or they're tired or they're struggling with that work-life balance. What words of wisdom do you have for them?
Um, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, there was a point like at the beginning where I was like, I don't even know, maybe I've made a mistake, but
Mhm.
I think I think, if you're willing to work with it and do it and invest in yourself, it is an investment in yourself. So I would say, take the lessons, definitely. It has really helped me and I'm seeing a difference. And so I think, if there's a point where you think like, oh, you know what, I'm just gonna give up now. I don't think it's worth you giving up. I think it's 100% totally worth you investing in yourself and not for anybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. You got to want it for yourself. That is awesome. 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 Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule, Andrea, to talk with us. I hope that you all found this very inspirational and inspiring, as well as motivating and real. It's real. She basically said, hey, you got to invest. We got to put a little effort into it. But it's not going to. It's not so much torture that it's like, but you do, but it's different. It's different. And when you changing habits and you're changing behaviors, you're going against the grain. You're out of your comfort zone, and I think that's what she means. And then you got to couple that with your life. If you already got
Mm,
stressors in your life and then you're trying to do something different, then it may feel like a little tension in the beginning, but in the longer term, think about it as self-care for yourself. It's for you and it's going to benefit you, and you can massage it any way that you need to massage it to make it work for you. So that's really what it's all about. And so for those who tuned in, I thank you for tuning in. Post your questions, post your comments, and always just keep a positive mindset, and positive self-talk goes a long way. And I will see you again next week, same time, same handle, and have a great rest of your day, and blessings. And thank you again, Andrea.
thank you. Thank you.